Welcome to this episode of Estate Agency X. Today, myself and Rob are talking to Adrian Lomas, who is an EOS implementer. That probably doesn't mean a great deal to you, but an EOS implementer is somebody that has followed the book Traction, which talks about an entrepreneurial operating system. It was written by a guy called Gino Wickman. And it is a way of running your business more successfully, to have more clarity around what you do and know what direction you're going in. Adrian is one of the mentors that comes in to talk to agents on our 18 Cores Business Accelerator program that we put agents through. And he talks to people about how to do it. So today we dig into his backstory, the businesses that he run, the problems that he faced, and the things that he finds when he works with businesses that really help them to put the rocket fuel into what they're doing.
Estate Agency X, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business, with hosts Mark Burgess and Rob Brady.
Okay, Adrian, thanks for coming in.
No
can you just give the listener a bit of background on yourself?
Sure. Well, I started my own company, back in the last century, if you like. It was a digital creative agency up in the Northwest, and grew the agency up there. And at some stage, I discovered the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, implemented that into my business, grew the business, and effectively sold the business in 2019 for a healthy sum. And after that, I worked for the company for like 4 years, going through the sort of the exit, if you like. And then picked up EOS again, picked up the book called Traction, read it, made sense. And basically I bought a franchise. And since then I've just been helping leadership teams to get what they want from their business. That's simply what I do. I just help and work with entrepreneurial leadership teams to help them to implement a complete proven system, just using simple, practical tools. That's what I do.
Love it. And I've seen you do that on our 18 Cores workshop, do it brilliantly. But I want to just dig into some of the things that the listeners might find relatable, because, you know, they're all estate agents mostly listening to this show, and they might think like, okay, you mentioned digital marketing business. Are we talking about digital marketing? Are we talking about EOS, Traction business? Really, I don't know if you'd sort of maybe summarize it differently to me, but I've got a lot of experience with Traction as well and EOS, and I think it's really something that helps a business owner to give them clarity around what's the fucking point of your business, like why does it even exist and how does it exist, and so what was it that you were going through in your old businesses the first time that you picked up the book and thought, like, this is the answer to my problems?
Yeah. So the story is that I was running my agency and, it's doing well. We were working Red Bull, Laura Ashley Tate Next, a lot of good brands that we were working with from a creative point. But I think a bit of hubris kicked in and life-changing things. 2013 was my horrible year. My mum passed away, went through divorce, which was never nice. And then I was told I'd overtraded. So effectively, I'd lost the plot in my own company, Now I'm in a point where my business, I'm told to close the door because I'm financially broke. And also my business is sort of told to wrap it up. But it was at that point when I was living under my desk, which I literally did, lived under my desk for 3 months of my life. Somebody gave me the book Traction. Gino Wickman wrote it, a book on how to run a business. And I read it and I thought, it's quite simplistic, and I probably know most of this stuff. I don't think I'm really doing it properly. I didn't have the rigor in my business to do it. I was, sleeping under my desk and therefore not getting it right. And so when I read the book and read the process and put it into place in my business, it just managed to, over time, not immediately, it's not a quick fix, but over time managed to scale back up and got to the point over sort of 6 years where we then got to a great exit. Because we ran our business rigorously on EOS, a set of simple tools.
How do you help someone with, when you start reading Traction, one of the first parts of the book, if I remember rightly, I might have got it in the wrong order, but one of the first parts of the book that I remember is starting to try to get you to understand what the vision of your company is, and the 10-year goal and the 3-year goal and all of that sort of stuff. And I think as a business owner, well, maybe I'm just saying this because this is how I look at things, but one of the problems that I had, let's put it this way, is you can answer the questions. You know, even when you were living under the desk, you could have answered the questions.
Yes.
But maybe it's only in hindsight, when you've had the great exit 6 years later, that you could see you answered the questions incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah. Like, how does someone's listening to this, they're thinking to themselves, maybe, right, I get that book.
Yeah.
And that's that sorted.
Yeah.
And they'll answer the questions.
Yes.
They'll answer the questions wrongly, probably.
Yes.
Right. So how would you explain that to someone?
Yeah, look, it's tricky. The book is out there, as are many other books, you know, for people to read. And if it resonates with them, and if they can take action with it, the book is written in that way. Now, as we know, it's sometimes very hard to see, to read the writing on the jar when you're inside the jar, if that makes sense. And so sometimes you need that person on the outside. It's why you have a coach in the gym, just to get you to go that extra mile, push you that bit more, see it from their viewpoint. And that's what I now do. So, you know, I find, you know, for everybody that buys the book or gets the book or whatever, you know, 9 people or companies will do it themselves, because they may have some sort of rigor that can do it. I find that many don't really follow it through properly.
Yeah.
But some are fashion, some start to create their own. And if that works, great, I'm up for that. But, you know, what there are is that, you know, from 1 out of every 9, if you like, 9 or 10, then they just need that extra support. And that's where I come into it. You know, I do 3 things. One, I teach what EOS is about. I facilitate the wisdom in the room so I can see what's going on and call it out. I see what people's heads are, or talking or not talking, what they're saying. You know what I mean? I can call it out from that point of view, and therefore facilitate, and then also coach them, with the aim of getting them to run on one system, one language, company-wide, so then everybody is clear of the one vision.
Yeah. Because
that's the other problem we find, is that, you know, a director, a founder, or whatever will have a vision, but nobody else has got that same vision. You know, if we're all looking at a different vision, then it's going to be a much harder journey. We've got to make sure we've got a clear, aligned vision. We're all shared, and we're all trying to get there as quickly as possible.
And what about when, like, you know, you arrive at a business to help them, and they don't have a vision, like, you know, because in their mind, they are just an estate agent.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, you know, it's all very American, isn't it? This whole idea of a vision and a mission. We're just an estate agent. What's the problem? Like, you know, there's 10 of us on the high street. Like, what do you want me to say? I'm an estate agent.
Yes.
Because EOS works across any business.
Yes.
So, and every business thinks, oh yeah, but we're different because we're just an estate agent.
Yes.
And we're different because we're just a now business. And we're different because we're just this. And
yes.
Where does the conversation go?
Well, it's helping, and this is why it sometimes takes a while. You know, as I said, it's not a quick fix. We sometimes have to work to figure out what the passion is. What are we doing here? What's the passion? What's the end goal? You know, so for instance, if I have a team who says, yeah, we want to sell for X amount. Yeah, that's nice. That's going to inspire the directors, but not the rest of the people in the organization. We've got to figure out what really makes a difference. So is it, you know, we housed X amount of people, we dominate this community or this geographic area, or we only work in this one sector and we are the best at this sector. It's about creating what that purpose is, that vision is that you want to be. And if everybody can align to it in that organization, then that's when we can start to really dominate whatever that is. And it isn't always about being the biggest and best. It really isn't. I've worked with some teams that want more, but then realize, actually, no, that's what I want. It might actually be more flexibility, more time, or whatever it is. So it's whatever it means to the leaders of the organization. That's what we're trying to get to. The leaders all clear on the vision, because that's when it makes it easier. Because most times the leaders are not aligned.
Yeah.
And that's when it's a challenge.
Core values.
Yes. Love them.
So we've obviously, I learned a lot from Mark with core values because of obviously going through the similar process years ago.
Yes.
And quite a lot of the people we come across, you know, you met even at the beginning of the year, had some core values.
Yes.
But then reinventing them because they're realizing that it's just, I've got something maybe from someone else or
Yes, or ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. I've just sort of put it on a wall, and I hope that's in place. So, what's the difference between someone having core values on a wall and then actually someone really putting core values in place? What would you say are like the drivers for them to make it actually of a meaning to a strategy or something within the business?
So let me take a back step on that. If we're to think that we've got some vision that we want to go with this business, whatever it is, in order to get there, I think it's fair to say that we should have as many of the right people in our organization helping us get there. Right people in the right seats. So what I mean by that is if we want to grow the business, we're probably going to need some finance, we're going to need some ops, whatever it is, lettings or sales. We're going to need key seats in our business. And we've got to define what those are. And then we've got to list out what we want people to do in those seats. And only then do we then see if we've got the right people to sit in those seats. That's the right seats, right? So we've got to assess on whether they also meet our values. Because if we think about it, if you have worked with somebody who just really grates on you, but it's probably good at sales and good on the numbers and so on, what do you do with somebody like that? I mean, most people are like, okay, they're hitting the numbers. Piss me off a little bit, to be fair, but they're hitting the numbers. So what they tend to do is they promote these people into more leaders. And yet your other people that are really, really nice people, great people, the ones that you get on with are like, wait, why are you doing that? And these people are just offended because these people meet your values. These are the ones that really align with you, whether it's professionalism, team spirit, whether it is communication, tick, 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 tick. These are the ones which align. We've got to make sure that we've got the people aligned from a values point of view, because we then get on with them, build our team. We've also got to make sure that they align from the seat, because when they are in that seat, that they actually get it, they want it, and they've got the capacity to sit in that seat and get the job done. This is what we look for when we're looking for right people in the right seats. They meet us from a values point of view, and they're getting the job done that we want them to get done. They are superstars. And if we can get nearer to 100% right people, right seats, every time we get nearer to it, it's like releasing the handbrake on a car, if you like. You can just put your foot on the accelerator for the business a bit more because we've got less drag. If we've got people that don't meet our values, it's just going to be really draggy and it's hard.
And a business owner listening to that thinking, I've got a person in my company that hits those targets, and they do piss me off.
Yeah,
they do things that annoy me that don't. That the salesperson would maybe think doesn't affect the core part of the job, because the core part of the job was hitting the targets, and they hit and smash their targets. And the business owner, it grates them because it doesn't align with their particular values in life. And they would argue, I'm not saying I would necessarily, but they would argue to you like, okay, but the whole point of us, well, not the whole point, but the first point of us being here is to make a profit, and I need this person. Why would I throw them out the door?
Yeah. So I never recommend they throw them out the door. What I recommend is using the EOS tools to put a spotlight on the issue. Because if we put a spotlight on the issue and say, well, actually, the reason that this person grates on us is because of X, Y, and Z. Now we've got some data. Now we can choose to do something about it. One option is put up with it. We could. We have been. So do we carry on doing that? Or do we aim to bring them up, point it out and say, actually, creative about the possible, that's one of our values, but I never see that in you. Can you, over the next week or 2 weeks, demonstrate to me how you can be creative about the possible? And then they start to see if they can do it. If they can do that, it's almost like they're starting to rise to align with the others. Or they may realize, I don't fit here. Because if somebody is in a company and they don't meet with the company values, they feel it as much as you feel it, that they don't fit in. And at some stage, they will probably exit if there is more of these people in this this culture of people that do it this way. And I'm starting to be the odd one out. Maybe it's time I go.
Yeah. But then wouldn't that business owner turn around and go, well, but I don't want them to go. They hit all their targets.
I'm still saying we've got a choice here. We're sort of saying, okay, they're breaking records for us. They're amazing. I reward you. I give you. You can do that. I'm not saying you can't do it. The EOS does not force you to do it. It just says, okay, this is the problem. This is why all of my superstars are, now getting pissed off and leaving, because we're rewarding somebody that's doing their sales, but we just don't. So you've got to look at the data in order to make the smart, educated decision.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And that's what EOS is about, is creating that data for us to then come together and say, what shall we do? Let's reward this person just because they're great sales, bloody annoying as they are. Or do we start to backfill? Do we start to bring them up? Do we recruit while this is happening and then replace? I don't know what it is. It's their strategy, their plan, but we're using the data, not good, to run the business.
So it's like Sue is the superstar salesperson.
Yeah.
She never comes to the morning meetings on time. She's always late.
Yeah.
It pisses me off as the manager.
Yeah.
And I've got other members of the team who do come to the meeting on time. They're not as good at sales as Sue.
Yeah.
I guess as the business owner, what we're saying there is, what do you want?
Yeah.
Are you going to get over the fact that Sue doesn't come to work and neither on time for the meetings, and neither does everybody else need to anymore?
Yeah.
Or is it important to you that these
Absolutely.
people come to the meetings? In which case, do something about it.
That's exactly right. You have the choice, and we know what it is. Because in those instances, we tend to find, well, Sue's always late, so I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
Sue does it this way, and she's a superstar, and she gets a bonus. I'm now going to start to emulate. And people gravitate towards this, dare I say, a cancerous element in the business.
Or
right?
Sue gets special treatment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get away with being late.
Yeah, but it's Sue. She does, just because she hits the numbers. But she's bloody annoying, and we don't like it. And here's the thing. Normally, when people like that are either leave or exited, then normally the rest of the team are like, why did you keep her for so long?
Yeah.
And, then they're sort of waiting for you to make it, as a leader, they're waiting for you to make a smart decision, which we all know. We know what Sue is like this, but what are you going to do about it?
It's interesting because I know that a question that I often ask a group of business owners is like, put your hand up if in hindsight there's somebody that works for you that if you could go back, you probably wouldn't rehire.
Yeah.
And they all put their hand up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why are they still working?
Absolutely.
I mean, and we've all done it.
Yes.
And so that's the blocker, isn't it? It's like almost the better the devil you know, but the flip side of that, who I think Julia said this to me, who you're friends with Julia as well, like the flip side of that is it better the devil you know, or is it better to have a hole than an arsehole? It's like, is it that much of a big deal to think that this company could run without this person that you actually wish you'd probably never hired? What might the company look like?
Yes.
Is it just that you don't want to have the conversation? Is it just that you're not equipped to have the conversation?
Yes.
Like you say, actually being able to identify what the problem is, I found personally empowered me to be able to have nice, calm conversations with people.
Exactly.
Instead of I've let it get to the point where I've lost the plot now and I'm shouting at somebody unnecessarily.
Exactly. And that's exactly the point. It's using the data to have an educated decision and an educated conversation, as opposed to it being an emotive one or a gut feeling, as I call it, or gut means gave up thinking, as Keith Cunningham calls it. So I think if we can use the data for us to stay calm, I always recommend that we use at least 3 reference points in why is Sue doing this? What's it doing to others? This is the facts. So we're using facts about a person with the aim of bringing them up to the level of all the others. And they can sometimes turn around into being real superstars because they've now meeting the culture. They understand the rules of the game, because that's all we've got is a set of rules of game packaged around values and so on. And so they now understand what we've got to do in this team to play the rules to win at it.
Yeah. To get to that vision that we're trying to get to.
Just on that last bit on the core values, if someone has got them on their wall, or they've got them because they've been told, I've got to have them, or I've read this book and it says about core values and I've created them.
Yeah.
Is there any particular questions you tend to ask those owners to maybe get them to see whether they are the correct ones.
Yes. Yeah. There's an EOS tool. You can download it. You can use it called the People Analyzer.
Yeah.
It's just dead simple because a lot of the things are quite simple. But what we're going to do is score each of the people. We've got to make sure that the directors of the business meet the values, because the last thing we want is to launch the values or have the values on the wall and everybody behind us laughing, because that is not professional. Ambition, no. They just laugh at it. But yes, Sandra in marketing's tick the box that we've done all of the values are on the wall. Try and remember them, please.
Mhm.
That's what happens. But no, we've got to have it where the directors and the leadership team are all scored in this People Analyzer to know whether they plus means that they always are one of those values. Plus minus is sort of a 50-50, and a minus hardly ever. Coming back to, a Bob or a Sandra, professional, hardly ever. Minus. Do we want to work with somebody like that? No, do we not? So we've got to make sure that those values are very realistic, not aspirational. We do not want ones that we are not these, but we'd love to be. Because again, it's not realistic. They've got to be genuinely realistic.
Yeah, because obviously back of our workshop, thinking that a lot of the clients were getting to the point of going for the core values, and then you had to almost tease them back because they start to think about the marketing and then start to change them to the marketing, but it's actually like these are internal sets of values.
Yes, absolutely. Correct. Yes, we start with the internal. This is very important that the values are created for the internal team. It's not a marketing exercise at all. This is, we're going to figure out what the values are, because the values are there. We just got to unpick them and figure out what they are. And then we've got to use them to make sure that, as many of our people are meeting our values as possible. Because it is fact that any person that we pick up from our values that is not meeting our values, they're bloody hard work. We just struggle with it. So that's why we've got to use it. And the People Analyzer tool, simple, but use it to just use the values to know whether we've got the right people in our organization.
So we've got clients obviously that have used level 10 meetings.
Great.
And the ones that I've seen have done it religiously, have done it really well, especially in their agencies. So notorious in a state agency is morning meetings, and meetings tend to just get together, chat some random stuff, go on a tangent, come away, everyone's a bit confused.
Yeah.
And then no one really knows the direction of going forward.
Yeah.
Or there's a preconceived agenda for why the meeting needs to take place because it's never really structured in place. It's just, we need that meeting because something's happened now, and this is what we need to get out of it. So, like, the importance of having, like, maybe explain to any listeners out there, level 10 meeting, what does that really look like?
Yeah.
And why it's important maybe to have a structure to a meeting.
Yes.
Even if it might not necessarily be the level 10 straight away, but the importance of having that structure when you go into it.
So, fully audience level 10s, what the heck is level 10? It's basically level 10 means it's a 10 out of 10 meeting. I mean, why should we have crap meetings, right? Why should we all come together, spend our time, just calculate the time in a meeting room? If there's 10 people, X amount, that is an expensive meeting. So we've got to have great meetings. So we call it a level 10 because we want a 10 out of 10, not a 5 out of 10 meeting. And we're going to score it to know how good a meeting is. That's the background to the name. But why do we have a weekly meeting? Well, what we're doing, it comes back to the vision. Because if we're creating a vision that, for hypothetically, we want to go up this mountain, not this one, this mountain. So we're clear what that looks like, whether it's the amount of properties or, customers or geographic, that's what it's looking like. And we've got some sort of time scale, however long, 5, 10, 15, you choose, it's your business, not mine. But if we've got that mountain, we've therefore got to say, right, that's what the top is roughly looking like. Not clearly, it's too far. We've got to then come down it and say, well, in 3 years' time, what's it looking like? So what's the picture? Numbers, teams, properties, deals, all that sort of stuff. What's the 1-year plan down here? What are we doing in the next 4 quarters to get to that mountain top? So we've now got a plan. We've now got some SMART goals. We then bring it down into quarters and say, right, what are we going to do for the next 90 days? We can hold energy for 90 days. Anything much longer, we lose interest. People, lose focus. But if we know what we're doing in a quarter, now we measure it weekly. And every week, we want to know that if we're here and we're going on a journey to do that in a quarter, we've now got a track of 12, 13 weeks in a quarter, and we're just simply checking it. Number of calls made, number of deals, number of viewings, what is it that creates a good week? Not an amazing week, because that's stretching people, just a good week to go to a great quarter, 1 year plan, 1 year, 3 year, long range. So that's why it brings it from long range down to a week. And in that weekly meeting, we're coming together to say, have we done what we said we're going to do to have a good week? Have we done the big things, the big goals, what we call rocks? What's our scorecard looking like? Are there issues? If it's issues, is it off track or on track? If it's off track, is it an issue? Do we need to talk about it? So all we're doing is setting a track from here to there over a quarter, and we're checking weekly to remove issues, solve issues, so as we have a really great quarter. That's the reason we have a weekly level 10 meeting, because at the end of it, we score it and say, was it a 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10? And we get the learnings.
Yeah. The estate agents, most estate agents out there that have probably started working a corporate estate agency, where there is structure. Oh, what's that? And then the structure is have these daily meetings about what's going on with our viewings, our valuations, our sales progressions. Everybody sets their tasks, off you go and do it. And they take that structure and they start their own business, and they carry on like that. But what they didn't realise is that the level above their pay grade, the corporate had a vision and the mountaintop, and they'd worked it all the way back down to, you guys just do this part. Yeah, hopefully, right? But then what they did was they went off and set up a business where the only vision they had was the daily whiteboard.
Yes.
And yes, okay, you could argue but if we hit all our daily targets, then we're all going to be happy.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, but then what?
Yes.
It'll be the same. It'll be Groundhog Day forever, won't it?
Yes, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's where it starts to change, when you start looking ahead and go I know you could hit your targets every day, and I'm sure you would have a nice life, but what about in 3 years? It could be slightly different.
Yes.
When will you open a new branch?
Of
when
course.
will you go to a new area?
Yeah.
I spoke to a bigger estate agency a couple of years ago. I was at their annual conference, and at the annual conference they said, we made this acquisition, we might make more. Yeah. And then I went out for dinner with the leadership team, and I was chatting to the founder, and I was saying so are you making more or not?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, depends on the deal.
Right.
And I was like, well, but are you or aren't you?
Yeah.
So you've got to know where you're going.
Absolutely.
And the team's got to go with you.
Yeah. You're obviously, we get you in for one day as a part of our accelerator program, and it's a particular way that we do our process. But obviously, you go into businesses and start to support them in implementing those tools.
Yes.
So you're obviously a little bit more on the coalface with a lot of those businesses, and see maybe some more developments behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So things like that level 10 meeting.
Yes.
It's a new initiative, new strategy, new tool that's come into it.
Yeah.
How do you find on average, the businesses you work with, it takes for them to get that into it's a no-brainer now.
Yeah.
Why we do this.
Yeah.
And what do you commonly find? Just in case we've got an agency owner out there who's, whether they want to look at the level 10, engage with you, start that process, or try it, like you said, the 9 out of 10, try and do it themselves. How do you find that? How long do you reckon it takes?
Yeah. It's a generalization, and we're talking averages here, but what we tend to say is over 2 years it takes to go from learning to really fully embedding it, that we fully run on it. Some teams will think that they can do it quite quickly, and some do pick it up quicker than others. But what we're doing is we're working with leadership teams first before we go and confuse the rest of the organization, because there's nothing worse. A visionary, if there's a visionary on the listening to this, they're the ones that pick up the books, they go to conferences, read lots of stuff, they come into the meeting, 20 ideas, and the rest of the team oh my God, they're here again. 19 of those might be crap ideas, 1 might take them to the moon, 2 might actually kill the business. But if we can block the bad ideas and we just harness the 1, that's great. But that's a visionary. And visionaries who would read the book would come in and try and force it in and say, right, let's do this. And we do it for 2 or 3 weeks and then they're bored, aren't they? They're on to the next thing. We can't have that. That's what creates confusion with all the team. And so what we have to do is we've got to work. I solely work with the leadership team, and in order to really embed it and learn it just in the comfort of just that space before we roll it out to the rest of the organization. So we're building a rigor, we're learning it, because we've got to get to the point where the leadership team can teach it to the next level and to the next, because we've got to make sure that it's consistent. We don't want to have bad ways creeping into it, where rather than a weekly meeting, we'll do it once a fortnight, or we're not going to do rocks. We're going to do like every 6 months or something. Once they start to water things down and weaken it, it changes it. So I teach them to run really purely, so then they can then just roll it out to the rest of the team. And when we get everybody on one operating system, all from the same vision traction organizer, as we call it, the VTO, the map, where we're going, that's when it really sends it. That's when it goes. And if we can get that visionary working with what we have is sort of like somebody in between it. I'm an EOS implementer, but what we want is an integrator, somebody just to harness the energy, keep the plate spinning, block the visionary from upsetting the machine. That's when it really works, because many times I walk in, I meet them, and the visionary is there, also spinning the plates, confusing stuff, doing the accounts on a Sunday night, doing the marketing with their son or whatever, child. So they're wearing many hats. I get that. I've been there. We've all been there. But we've got to start to get it clear what those hats are and make sure that the visionary is supported so well with an integrator. And when we get that, that's the rocket fuel bit, the integrator, the visionary. That's the bit that sends the business to the moon, because we've now got a visionary, entrepreneurial, day-to-day sort of beating the drum, just starts to sink.
We had a podcast guest only like a couple of hours ago, and she said that she started that process, and then recognised that she needed an ops person.
Yes.
To do that process.
Yes.
And she internally found that person, because she said
Yeah.
it's very good because they were a sales progressor, so they knew the process, knew the company. Do you think that's quite, because a lot of as Mark said, a lot of the owners that we tend to deal with, or agency owners out there, they tend to have set up on their own.
Yeah.
Taken some of the corporate stuff or another independent stuff, do it, realise they need an extra hands, and then they go, do I need admin? Do I need another salesperson?
Yeah.
Do I need a negotiator? I'll do a negotiator first because I can still list.
Yeah.
Then they go to a point, they go, I want to expand, so I'll get a lister on board.
Yes.
And then we've got a load of team, we'll just get an admin person.
Yeah.
And then they're still stuck in this circle of, I've got an admin, maybe a couple of negs, maybe a couple of valuers.
Yeah.
I sometimes do a bit of listings, but I haven't really got anyone for that integrator role.
Yeah.
Like, do you find within the businesses that you work with, is there a particular individual that you find that if they haven't got that, that's got a good skill set towards being an integrator, in case someone's looking at it thinking, who are my team? Right seats?
Yeah. I work with a lettings, a mortgage sort of company and property company, and I had that very same experience where the visionary was in there, spinning the plates, visionary side things. But every time he was looking to get the answers, he was finding that the answers were from this certain person who was in the sort of like ops seat, if you like. And so afterwards I called it out and I said, look, there's something in this person, young person, female, but she knew the answers. And when he was like trying to think where it was or what the answers were, always looking at her. And when we called this out, it was like, oh yeah, we've probably got this. We've got this integrated person who can sit in this seat. And that's what we've got to do, is say, we need that. Who's the best person to sit in it? Is it the visionary, or is it this person from that seat, or is it somebody else? Or we've got to run the filter. Do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity? Because what we want is people to sit in that seat who get it, want it, and the capacity, the time, skills, and knowledge to do that job. And many times they all acquire unsung people in the business. The people that will be there sorting Christmas dues, they will be sorting presents out, they will know things about, we step into any role, just roll the sleeves up and get stuff done. They're really good ones that can come through. They don't need to be loud and vocal. They just need the respect. They can sit and be aware of a lot of things and just keep the balance of the machine going.
Yeah. Sorry.
So let's say, do you find with the changes in AI that, I've only read an article around like how therapists are really struggling at the moment because people are taking therapy from ChatGPT and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you find there's ever going to be changes towards that leadership visionary going, well, I don't really need someone like that. I can just go and chat to my
I do.
ops.
I do it myself. I use it. I think AI is brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant, but we've got to use it in the right ways to get to what we want. But what we do still think, well, what we need, and I think we'll come back even more so, is that human interaction even stronger. I think that's still going to be needed. I think that the fact that when you're in a meeting with somebody and you just see how they're responding or not responding or saying something or not, that's when, I think AI at the moment is not picking up on those things, but it's a case that we've still got to have those human interactions and use the AI to support our journey, more of the how. We can bring in the why and where we want to go. We can use the AI to help us on that journey. I agree with that.
Yeah, just going back to the integrator thing, over the years, I've spent a lot of time working with companies that try to find integrators and thinking about it myself, what makes an integrator. And I've boiled it down to one specific thing. To find a good integrator, you need somebody that did or was the type of person that would have laminated their school timetable. Because that person is your integrator, provided that they've got your core values and that they're on board with the vision. If you've got that person in your company, that's your integrator.
If they do it methodically and they're proud of it and they do week after week, if it's the one that just like, oh, I've got this new machine and look, we can do it, and you've all got it, and then they get bored. And
no, they did it because they knew that it was going to get torn, and this was the most sensible thing to do. Laminate this timetable and stick it inside the locker, and it will never get lost.
Perfect.
You're an integrator.
Perfect. And that's what it's about. It's integrating all of the energy of all the people and just helping the machine to roll towards the plan. The good weeks. Many good weeks create a great quarter. Great quarter takes us to our 1 year, 3 year, and our long range.
Absolutely, those integrators, they're the key to the whole thing. Like you said, like the visionaries, the salespeople, they make all the noise, but like it is all just noise. As a visionary myself, if I came back with traction and said this is a great book, this has got everything we need in it, you guys should implement that, and then I'd just leave the room. You know what I mean? And they'd go like, anyway, back to work.
Forget about it.
We'll wait for the next book next week.
Well, that's the reason why I think when I first met you, I think Hayley put you into the corner.
Yeah, and then she removed my desk completely out of the office.
It's a case of, are you doing some work over there? Or are you actually doing what you said you're going to do last week?
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember saying, like, when we'd first put all of this into place, Hayley said to me, she called me something or other and said, like, no, because we've got a meeting next Tuesday about that. And I was like, next Tuesday? I'm not even around next Tuesday. She's like, you're not coming to the fucking meeting. You're going to fuck the whole thing up.
And that's, it's an interesting point. If we can get to that point of where the visionary is not in a weekly level 10 meetings.
They don't need to be.
They don't need
we
to be.
don't need a new idea.
We've got a plan. We're just working the plan.
No new hand grenades.
That's right. Bring them in every so often, every quarter. What's the ideas? Let's go, think about it all. And that's absolutely great, but not in the day-to-day of running.
No, absolutely not. I love it. One of the things that I notice that's great about the annual 18 course that we do and the workshop that you do and some of our other mentors, and you sort of touched on it before, is when you're trying to figure this out yourself, either as just an integrator or maybe there's a leadership team or maybe there's two business partners, and because none of you have actually lived through it or got the answers, it's all debatable. When you have a mentor or you come on a course or you do a workshop with yourself or employ your services, what's great about it is that someone who you respect comes in, gives you the knowledge and shows you a way of solving this problem that you might have, and there's no argument. because everybody goes, well, he said it. It wasn't, there's no egos.
Yeah.
They go, well, he said it. So it's not your idea. It's not my idea. We may as well follow what they said and give it a go.
Yeah.
And I guess, like you say, like, if you don't follow it to the letter and you do decide, well, we're not going to do quite what you said, we're going to make up our own version, that's where I guess it starts to become like, now it's all debatable. Now we're going to sit around and discuss, like, well, you know, this is, no one really told us to do it this way, though, did they? So, like, you know, the fact that it's not working is like your fault.
Yeah.
And, you know, off we go down this path again. So the mentors, the workshops, the books, all of this sort of stuff, it's like, this is the shortcut.
Yes.
This is the quick
That's
way.
Right. That's right.
You don't have to find a new way. We've been here before already.
Yeah. I mean, Gino read all the books and found that there wasn't a system at the time. This is going back a couple of decades. There wasn't a system how to do it, and that's why he read all the books. He plainly admits he nicked those ideas and knitted it all together to create one system. Is it the best system in the world? Well, it's you know, there's others out there, but it's about, is Apple Mac best or is PC? But I don't know. Speak to me, it's
Apple.
Macs. Yeah, absolutely. Speak to my wife, then she's PC. You know, it was right. Me, of course. But do you know, I think as long as you pick one and all of you run on it, that's why underdogs come through in sports. We love it, don't we? It's like they're committed. They're just going for it. They follow it. So there's been some research carried out over the last 5 years with EOS. TrueSpace, linked with Gallup, has done a load of research on companies either from the same base, either running on EOS with an implementer or not. And what they find is that with an implementer, it picks them up, it gets them going, and they max out so much quicker than they do when they try and figure it out themselves. So many of them just stop it and drop, and you can see the data. It's now evidenced, which is great, because before that we didn't really know factually it was working, but now the data is out. It's been researched well that running on EOS with an implementer, it improves by 35% in, you know, speeding up the
I mean, you can as you say, even without the data, you could see that would happen, because it's like anything in life, isn't it? It's like I didn't do well at school. I wasn't interested in their way of teaching, and I mistakenly thought I didn't like learning. I just didn't like learning how to work out the circumference of a cone. But, like, you know, or the way they were teaching it. But actually, learning is the secret to everything in life, right? And if someone can show you how to do this thing, you're going to do it faster. If someone teaches you how to ice skate, will be faster than trying to ice skate yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, there's 911 implementers like myself globally at the moment. There's 44 across Europe, you know, and it's about finding the right one. You know, obviously I'm me, my style, my backstory. I'm just one of many, but you know, it's about finding the right coach, the right system, the right group of people, mentors. You find those, it can really, really power your journey. You just got to find what works for you.
And vice versa from that part. Like, who are the type of people that you tend to work best with? Like, is there a particular set of people that you go, I work with this particular model? Or really, like, if you are thinking, right, I've listened to this, but I'm going to read the book, I've listened to this podcast, I'm going to start doing it. Like, some self-reflection questions that you should be asking yourself before you take that journey. So that you're not one of those people that, like, oh, I'm going to get you in, Adrian, I'm going to do this, and you do it all, and then 3 months later, well, I wanted to create my own level 5 meeting.
Yeah, there you go.
Because, like...
Well, a few things there. One is, by all means, LinkedIn, and I'll send you content, and you can get onto the EOS website free of charge. There's content on there. So you can learn that. The Traction book is free. All of the other books, Get a Grip, and so on. They're all, you know, books with good resource in there. It's just that extra level above it if they really want that commitment. And that's where we come into it. Now, the types of people, our sweet spot is generally companies between 10 and 250. So a good sized company. You know, they're normally over that sort of initial hump. They've got some cash going, but they're just hitting the ceiling, frustrated. Accountability is not right, a bit of politics, you know, all that sort of stuff, you know, is absolutely the perfect client for us. Open and honest, that's what I push for and crave for. You know, we're going to go deep on a lot of things, and we've got to go into that from an open, honest standpoint. But, you know, it's teams that really want to go to the next level. You know, if they're okay with where they're at, that's fine. That's good. There's space for them. But if they want to go to the next level, that's the perfect client. That's the teams that I really love helping with. And bottom line is, the teams I enjoy working with. I just want to work with nice people. I want to enjoy it and just feel part of it. Because when they're sending me messages, oh, I'm struggling with this person. What do you think? I just want to really enjoy working with them. So that's one of the main criteria for me.
And don't forget, you can do the 18 course and spend a whole day with Adrian, figure it out for yourself, right? But I've got to ask you, what are your core values?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, mine is about health first. I'm very, very strong on health first. Passionate about the possible has been one that I've had for a long, long time. They're my two main ones. When I ran my company, Blue Leaf, we got to the point where we had 9 values, which was a lot to remember, and the tattoo was long. But I think it's not about 1 or 5 or 10. As long as you have got sort of like 3, 4, 2 core, and that's absolutely fine. So yeah, they're mine.
I love it. So if someone out there is passionate about the possible, and they're also helpful, then they're probably quite well aligned with you.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I love it. Anything else that you want to add to that?
No, you've been great, Adrian.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check, whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed. And then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.